We're also very appreciative of what this man can do with a golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he became the guy, everybody was saying, is he a mute? Is this guy okay? And then whenever he became dominant, everybody said, this guy sucks as the head guy. And then you watch him play golf, and it's like, this is a master of sport, please. Have a little bit of respect. He would go on a run that would make our entire generation go, okay, we got a guy. Right now, he's currently on a run that could be historic. He won the PGA Tour schedule calendar championship. Mm-hmm. Then he just won the St. Jude championship. This upcoming weekend, it's down to the top 50. And then next weekend, it's the top 30. He could hit the quadruple crown here. Mm-hmm. Never been done before. Ladies and gentlemen, an absolute stallion of a man. Wears wired headphones.
Nice. Of course.
Protect that brain. Ladies and gentlemen, Scottie Scheffler.
Yay!
How you doing, brother?
What's up, fellas?
Okay, always a wired guy, or this was just available?
I typically am a wired guy. Sometimes I put the what is it, like the Bluetooth ones in there, but only occasionally. I'm typically a wired guy.
I like that old school, throwback, real golfer. You listening to music whenever you're playing, not in tour rounds, whenever you're out there on a golf course just kind of having fun?
Yeah, typically at home, like we'll have music in the cart, but if I'm practicing and stuff, I never have headphones in. You got to listen to like kind of how you're making contact with the ball.
Oh, yeah, I guess there is a little bit of we're trying to get better at this. How is the contact with the ball? Feels like you're playing great golf. Obviously, we watched you dominate this past weekend. All season, you've been in it. Thank you as a golf fan and as a sports fan. Seeing your name on a Sunday or on a Saturday on the side of the television is a huge deal for the sport of golf. I think you know that at this point. You've been in it all year. You've won a few. You're coming off a win. How would you judge the season thus far and how you're playing? And congrats on baby, I think, which happened during this season as well.
Yeah, we had our second son during this season. That was an exciting time, and my family's been traveling with me a lot this year, which has been really fun. But yeah, I've had some close calls this year, so it was nice last week being able to kind of get the win and be able to answer some different questions at the end of the week instead of, how are you going to win? It was more, it's a lot easier answering the questions about playing good golf versus playing close to good golf.
Yeah, but being in 10 straight top fives or whatever the hell it was like, this guy sucks. Yeah. It's like, what are we talking about? This might be best season of all time. How do you judge seasons? Because obviously winning at the end is a huge deal. How you go into the offseason for everybody is how you kind of judge and the last taste of your mouth. It's been a phenomenal season. How do you judge these next 2 weekends? And I know there's a lot of convos about, you're a big reason why they had to change some of these playoff rules. You think Scottie Scheffler should get a 10-stroke head start and how that ends? How do you feel about where we are in the playoffs? And what do these final 2 weeks look like for you mindset-wise?
I think mindset is just wanting to finish off the season the right way. Like I said, I've been close this year to playing some really good golf, and last week was nice kind of getting in there and being able to get a win. And, I have 2 good opportunities over the next couple of weeks to have good starts and finish off the year the right way. But also when you start looking towards the offseason, golf is kind of just like an endless pursuit of trying to improve things. And, we're never really close to perfecting this game, but, we're always just working, trying to improve a little bit at a time. And I think that's what I love about the game. Just continue to practice. There's always something to work on and something to strive for. And, we'll be focused on those things again as the offseason comes.
Let me be a golf aficionado. It feels like you were pin high a lot this past weekend. Distance control was seemingly outrageous. You were still scrambling a little bit. You were still scrambling a little bit off the tee. So let's talk about both those. Did you feel comfortable with your distance this past weekend, maybe more so than weeks past that we've seen of this season? And off the tee box, do we hate our driver or we matter? How should we be talking to your driver as people that talk into microphones? Oh, no. That was a big question. That was super golfy. Okay.
Well, dude, I put a new driver in the bag last week, so that was good.
Okay, so we like this driver.
New driver
we like this driver. Okay, we like that.
Yeah, it's 1 for 1. Yeah, I like the driver so far. And then, pin high a lot last week. Yeah, I felt like I found finding contact. Sometimes in golf, you can just be a touch off and it can make a huge difference. And so at home, the week before we left, I'd played some really good golf, and so I was excited to kind of get back out there and compete, and just hit it really solid for the most part. And I hold a lot of putts last week, which I think was why you saw such large separation in the leaderboard. So it was nice, kind of an all around week.
Are we just going to continue to do that? And what putter are you using?
Yeah, same putter as always, and hopefully continue to do that. I think that's always the goal. But, got to keep your expectations realistic, but I'm definitely confident going into this week.
Go ahead, D-Bud.
Yeah, he's unbeatable, obviously, when the flat stick is rolling. But to kind of follow up on that driver, I believe you went from the QI10 to the new 4, I think it's 4D. And I'm the mark. I try to tailor-made. I buy the new driver. Whatever new driver comes out, I'll go out and buy it because I think it's going to help me. But what makes you get to that point where you say, okay, I am comfortable and I am going to change something in the bag?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been big on switching clubs. So if you see me putting something new in the bag, it's going to be really, really great. And I felt like as I tested this new 4D driver, the spin numbers were more consistent and it was a little bit faster. It was just a matter of the club going as straight. And I'm never going to switch unless I actually feel like the club is better. And so 2 weeks ago when I was at home, I just did my best trying to go out and play. And my backup driver to the QI10 was the QI4D. And so I felt like my QI10 was getting close to where it was either going to fail the driver testing or become illegal. And so I needed to really work on my backup, and I put it in play at home a few times and really liked kind of what I saw. And, going into Memphis last week, just felt like it was a good week to kind of test it out, and the results were pretty good. So definitely going to keep it in the bag going forward.
I like that you look at your backup driver going into playoffs, say, "Congrats, kid, you're in the show." I like that. I'm doing similar stuff. Did you think about getting rid of the wedge out of the sand whenever you hit that sprinkler? What a terrible. Hey, I thought golf gods were shitting on you. I thought that's what was happening. How do you mentally take this into time? Because you have a lead. Obviously, this is early. And my first thought would be like, oh, great. Golf's doing this to me today. I don't know if that's how you ever think on a golf course. Obviously, you're the best in the world. I wonder what my ranking would be. Probably down there in a few 100,000s or whatever it is. But when you see that happen, obviously abnormal. And was this going in? It felt like you were on the right trajectory.
It was a spot where the ball could land. I was trying to land about 3 feet in front of that sprinkler head, but I didn't ever see it. I couldn't see it from where I was in the bunker. And so when it hit the sprinkler head, I was like, oh my gosh, I never even saw that. And so it was definitely one of those breaks where you're like, man, am I going to be kind of going up against it today? But just did a good job of refocusing after that. And it was actually a tough up and down for bogey from that point. So made a good bogey, got it back with a nice birdie on the 5th, and then we were kind of off to the races after that. But yeah, just trying to do your best to reset. But when stuff like that happens, it is very frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between you and probably clubs going into into that where the ball went. Clubs going there as well. Probably picking up the sprinkler's head. Actually, say how you doing? Yep, you're going in there as well. Full Happy Gilmore Adam Sandler scene for me because that's Sunday. This is Sunday of a playoff. Happening to the leader. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not.
It was actually out of a movie.
Mulligan for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm redropping it.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Me neither.
That's cheating.
Unbelievable that's right there. Mm-hmm. Why would they ever put that there? I'm trying to chip this thing in. He said I was trying to put it 3 feet ahead of that. I didn't know you ever missed. How? So, okay. You're aiming. Me. College game day, you gave me some golf advice when I said, hey, I'm trying to do this one. And you go, anything but that. Don't do that. And you said, but how small of a spot are you aiming for? Like when we see you on a tee box, are you aiming for like a tiny little spot somewhere? Are you aiming for a vicinity? When you're chipping, are you like, all right, I'm going middle of the green, trying to spin it back? How direct are you in your thinking and thoughts as you're lining up to hit a ball?
I'm always real specific, I think, in the picture of what I want to do. So I always have exactly what I have in mind, but I think you're always using kind of the parameters and the slopes that you have in order to make that shot easier. So for instance, that bunker shot, obviously there's water long, but there's also a downslope where that sprinkler head is, and then it gets flat on the green. So in my head, I'm going to try and land that maybe a foot or two onto the green, but I know I have that downslope that I can use there so that I kind of change the shot that I'm playing in order to use kind of the parameters that I'm given there. But I think I've always been very visual. And so visually I'm very specific, but when it comes time to actually hitting the shot, I try and forget about all that stuff and just be committed to what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start doing from now on. That's a good idea. I like how good you're playing here in the playoffs. A lot of money on the line. Not that you need to be told about that. Obviously, you know that. But I think $10 million to win the season and 3.8 here last weekend, 3.8, and then another $10 million. If you hit the quadruple crown, obviously that's a hell of a 4-week period. Okay, and we are pulling for you to do that for the good of all sport and for greatness as a whole. But let's talk about being great and when you're great. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, Scotty, Pat alluded to it, how going into the offseason. Obviously, you want to kind of go out on top and be playing well. And the purses for these, last 3 tournaments are huge. But for you specifically, like, would you rather be peaking and playing your best golf kind of maybe more towards the beginning of the season, like early summer when you have the majors kind of sandwiched around that time? Or like, is the intention, hey, I want to be peaking and playing my best golf around the time the FedEx Cup comes around?
I feel like peaking in golf is something that, like, you can't really predict. I think you want to be playing your best golf all the time, and I think that's what we're always striving for. And if I could figure out how to necessarily peak for certain weeks, that would be great. But I think in golf, it's such an unpredictable and difficult game. I think you're always just trying to get the most out of yourself. And I would describe it best this way. When I'm at home practicing, I think the majors are always kind of in the back of your head. But I feel as if what works best for me is just to get the most out of each day and each moment. So practice really hard when I'm at home and just get the most out of kind of each and every day. Just be present, be where my feet are, I think is really, really kind of my motto. And I wish I could figure out how to peak in golf. That would make things a lot easier.
You have for about 10 years now. But yeah, it's been a long-ass peak. You kind of plateaued at the peak, actually. Everybody's kind of wondering when that's going to stop.
It's just the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. And you can do this until you're 90, your guys' sport. You can literally do this until you're – yeah, absolutely. You can't get on any of the science that I'm on, but you can certainly do this for the rest of your life. I appreciate the fact that the FedEx Cup people are going to be thankful you said that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you got to it. You got to it when you're like, when I'm at home – and I'm standing over a ball. Okay, we are at Augusta. Yeah, we are certainly doing that.
Legacy.
But would love the FedEx Cup. Obviously, very important. Let's be where our feet are. You talked about playing with Sam Burns. How much you love him this past weekend. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, Scottie, obviously you're very close to Sam. You're very close to Siwoo. I watched a video of you guys playing together this week. It was awesome. It was very funny. So I know that I assume it doesn't matter as much on Saturday, Sunday because you're more dialed in, or maybe I shouldn't even say more dialed in. But on Thursday, Friday, do you like being more open, maybe playing with the guys that you're closer to on those Thursday, Friday opening rounds before you get into the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're able to go out there with a buddy, it's a lot of fun. But it is serious when we get into competition. I've never been a guy that talks a ton on the course, but anytime you can be out there with one of your buddies, you're gonna have fun. You're gonna mess around, and I'd say it's always more enjoyable just being out there with one of your buds. And like you said, I've got some great friends that I've met through the game of golf. Sam's one of my best friends in the whole world. So I've known for a long time, and Sue was one of my buddies. And so anytime we can go out there and play and compete and do what we love, it's a lot of fun.
Who'd you yell at after burying a putt in the President's Cup a couple years back?
That's Tom Kim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was, I love that. I was like, yeah. It just popped up in my algo again. I was like, did we miss this? It feels like we missed that. Nobody talked about that enough at the time. I enjoy the way you operate at the top of your sport, man. I genuinely do. I think you are a great depiction of what greatness can look like. You are so respectful to your sport. Yeah. There was a big celebration in your face before that because there was a long putt that was made. We need to win this, by the way.
Yeah.
And listen, we have a hard out coming, and that's a big deal with what's happening the last couple of days here. You don't know, obviously you're focused on golf. I'm going to be called a terrible person because somebody else missed a hard out. We got a hard out in like 30 seconds or so. I need to let you know, thank you for what you do for sport. Thank you for what you do for golf. We need to fucking win this Ryder Cup, okay?
Yeah, preaching to the choir, man.
You're the best. Good luck this weekend, brother. You're the man.
All right, thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scottie Scheffler.
Scottie.